What would happen if your mind and your computer could communicate with each other? This week on Click, we're putting thoughts into action and looking at software that you can talk to through your brainwaves. Also, the best titles on the show cut a swathe through this year's E3 Video Games Conference in LA. We've got the best of them. All that, plus the latest tech news and the best of the web in Webscape. Welcome to Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. It's the stuff of science fiction, maybe even the paranormal, the ability to shift objects and communicate with others through the power of thought alone. But scientists in France are working on a system that could do just that. As David Reed's been finding out, the breakthrough could give words back to those who've lost the ability to speak.
The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is the story of Jean-Dominique Bauby. He wrote it after he woke from a coma to find his mental faculties intact, but his body paralysed. The condition is called locked-in syndrome. Patients are fully conscious but are unable to move and therefore communicate. They're effectively imprisoned in their own bodies. Now, Jean-Dominique Bauby was able to blink his left eye. With the help of an assistant who read out letters from the alphabet, he wrote a book that has given us a rare insight into the internal lives of those suffering from this hellish condition. That glimpse may soon become much more thanks to the work of scientists at France's Institute for Health and Medical Research, INSERM. They've come up with a system called Open Vibe that, rather than relying for communication on a part of the locked-in patient's body that still moves, instead responds directly to the electrical activity in the brain.
Main application of this technology is to provide disabled people with some communication aid, and especially those who have very severe motor disorders, who are not able to communicate by no means, either by hands or by speaking, using their brain, which is still completely, perfectly functioning. Using their brain activity as a way to communicate is really a big hope for them for getting in touch with the rest of the world.
So here's how it works. There's a grid of letters. We'll resist using the word matrix. You choose the letter you want and you look at it. When it lights up, your brain reacts and the sensors in the wired swimming cap detect it.
As soon as a letter I've spotted is flashed, there is a brain response that tells the computer that this is the one.
The computer notes which column you were looking at when it detected that brain response. Then, next time around, it identifies which row you were looking at.
So by crossing the information of which row and which column have been flashed, you can guess which letter I want.
Simple. It's still slow and painstaking, but with software that predicts words as you write them, the whole process could be sped up. Essentially, the same technology is also being used at France's Digital Technology Research Centre in Ria to turn thought into action in the virtual world. In this case, patients have to imagine they're moving their limbs to stimulate the part of the brain that commands that movement. This is then detected by electrical sensors which cause virtual objects to move. In this case, a spaceship from Star Wars is made to launch, or a ball go from left to right. Most groundbreaking of all is the suggestion that Open Vibe might not just help locked-in patients, but also a category of patient we've assumed to be entirely beyond reach, those in a coma.
We always think that they are not able to communicate or they are not able to understand what we are telling them. But there are some indicators now from neuroscience research that they could have a way to understand our talk, our words, and probably their brain would be able to react to this, even though they are not able to move. If we are able to measure this brain activity and to understand that the brain is able to understand that, we can start the communication between the machine and them.
The communications revolution has helped us all to reach out to others across the world. Now, neuroscience is poised to explore our inner worlds and give voice to those still cut off from the rest of us, not by distance and geography, but by their own bodies.
David Reed there. Now a look at the latest tech news. The controversy over the Iranian presidential election may have caused uproar on the streets, but opposition supporters and the government have also locked horns online as the information war gathers pace. The authorities initially blocked satellite access to democratic media operating inside the country and increased their clampdown on the web. So, tech-savvy Iranians have been turning to their mobiles instead, generating video content and using micro-blogging sites like Twitter to tell the world what's going on. Official government websites have also been bombarded by denial-of-service attacks from individuals intent on taking them down. The situation in Iran is still changing daily, and we'll have a full report on the role technology is playing in the protests in next week's Click. If you buy a copy of the new operating system Windows 7 in Europe, you won't get Internet Explorer. After being fined for anti-competitive behaviour for bundling the web browser plus media player with Windows, Microsoft has announced that European Windows 7 users will need to download whichever browser they like, which of course may well be Microsoft's own Internet Explorer. And a US company has claimed that it's found pieces of its own software in China's new, controversial internet filtering program. Green Dam Youth Escort has to be installed on all new Chinese PCs to block offensive material from the net. The Chinese firm behind the software denies any wrongdoing, though California-based Solid Oak Software says the compromised software has already been installed on 9 million computers in China. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we met up with a chap called Daniel Ek. He's the co-founder of the online music streaming service Spotify, which is currently taking the internet by storm. We asked for your thoughts and emails on what he said. These are they. I discovered Spotify just over a month ago, says Andrew from Northern Ireland. It's amazing. Being able to get any song I want, when I want, legally and for free is brilliant. If the movie industry got something like this going, well, piracy would die completely. Well, you may be onto something there, Andrew. If you can always access any music you want online, you should never feel the urge to copy anything illegally. The problem, of course, comes when you can't get online in the first place. Then you do need a local copy of your tunes. And then there will always be some people who actually want to physically hold their music, like Luke from Somerset. I prefer having a shelf full of CDs that I can look through, as opposed to a virtual library of music. Yes, but Anda in London is streaming ahead and can't wait to get rid of the things. Streaming is the natural and the most exciting way to deliver music. Those shiny discs don't make sense in a world of high-speed broadband and digital players. Within 10 years, we'll all be listening to music that's been delivered directly and digitally. Next up, your reactions to the idea of cloud gaming, which we discussed recently at E3. It's playing a video game on the net without a console. Now, some of you are all for it. Matt E. from Redcar says cloud gaming is a truly fantastic idea. It would allow games developers to make high-spec games without the fear of bottlenecks on individual machines standing in the way of higher volume sales. Plus, gamers wouldn't have to shell out for new hardware nearly as often. Well, never mind the bottlenecks on the individual machines. What about the bottlenecks on the internet? That's what a lot of people are asking. Here's another counter-argument. I can trade games in when I've had my use out of them, says Will from Wolverhampton. But this is something you can't do over networks as there's no resale potential. Some are less likely to move cloudwards, like Brom from the Netherlands. A true enthusiast would like to build and maintain his own hardware and not be driven by an outside source where it's literally out of their control. Nice concept, but it has its downsides when the servers crash or go offline due to maintenance. And some, as ever, sit firmly on the fence. Cloud gaming, like cloud computing, will definitely have a prominent place in the future. However, neither will replace the traditional gaming or computing experience. That from Waleed from Beirut in Lebanon. Loving those thoughts and comments. Do please keep them coming. Email click@bbc.co.uk. Welcome back. A few weeks ago, Click descended en masse to Los Angeles for E3. It's the annual event that allows the video games industry to showcase its latest games and peripherals in a measured, focused and very sober way. Actually, I'm lying. It's 4 days of flashing lights and deafening noise with the latest games chucked in for good measure. Mark Gislak stayed behind to bring us the latest from this year's event.
The Los Angeles Convention Center, home to the loudest, flashiest video game show on the face of the planet. New games are announced by the truckload, and it's easy to become overwhelmed by an endless stream of first-person, action-adventuring and motion-sensing new titles. E3 is a big show. There are 40-odd thousand people here, all pouring, prodding and playing the very latest video games. Of course, with so many games on show, some of them are inevitably rubbish. But I'm going to be avoiding those because my task is to track down the very best games on show at E3 2009. The Bat is back. After a triumphant return to cinema screens in Batman Begins and Dark Knight, Gotham City's Caped Crusader returns to consoles. In this third-person actioner, he's dispensing his own brand of justice to the crazed inhabitants of Arkham Asylum.
Joker here!
The lunatics have taken over the asylum, or more specifically, one lunatic, the Joker. Batman makes use of stealthy skills, detection, his cape, and of course, batarangs to take out the bad guys and force a showdown with the Joker. In combat, an ever more elaborate repertoire of martial arts moves is unlocked by putting together slick combos.
I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously!
This particular video game outing for the Dark Knight detective is squaring up to be the best bats by far. Polyphony Digital, the minds behind the Gran Turismo series, don't develop games quickly. It seems like continents drift faster than Polyphony's people put together racing titles. First announced in 2006, the wait is nearly over. The latest GT could finally be making it out of the pit lane and onto the starting grid. As with all previous GT titles, the in-game cars look as good as showroom-fresh, real racers, but some optional extras have been bolted on to this version of the popular series. World Rally Championship and NASCAR modes have been added to the usual mix of upgrading mundane motors into fire-breathing road racers. And 16-player online mode has also been added, along with a feature found in most racing games since the days of Ford's Model T. In-game cars can now receive damage. Sword fighting and shooting are not the usual fare found on Nintendo's Wii. But if balance boards and fitness titles just aren't delivering the requisite bang for your buck, Red Steel 2 could just be of assistance. So the first Red Steel title, with its combination of swordplay and shooting, was a disappointing affair. This post-apocalyptic cowboy-themed reboot seems much more encouraging. Making use of the Wii Motion Plus, fine control is greatly improved, and the visuals have had a cel-shaded cartoon-like overhaul, making for a better-looking, better-playing attempt at an action game for the Wii.
Hey, you!
A change of pace now, and an intriguing first glimpse at a game from the critically acclaimed studio behind Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. This is the fantasy-tinged Last Guardian. Specifics about gameplay are sketchy at the moment, but we do know that the action revolves around a young boy and a bizarre giant beast hybrid thing who are trapped in a fortress and have to work together in order to escape. Pretty pictures aside, if Team Ico's past form is anything to go on, The Last Guardian will be a very unusual game indeed. A novel way of demonstrating new World War II real-time strategy title ruse has been found in the shape of a touch interface. While the standard components of a strategy game are present and correct, directing troops, aircraft, armour and artillery towards enemy targets, an element of deception has been introduced. Players can see all of their opponent's units on the map. However, some of those units are fake. The skill comes in deciding which are real and which are bogus. The game will of course play on a normal PC or PS3 and Xbox, which is handy as the Intuiface touch device seen here costs about £12,000. So, new games galore, with most of these titles making their way onto consoles and PCs over the next year.
Mark Chislak there, getting up close and personal with some of the best games of the next 12 months. Next up, it's Webscape and Spencer Enterprise. Do you read?
Space, the final frontier, where highly trained astronauts boldly go where no one has gone before. And now you can too, thanks to NASA TV at nasa.gov/NTV. We've looked at this site before in 2007. It was pretty awesome then, but came to my attention in May this year when they broadcast live coverage of the Space Shuttle Atlantis mission to upgrade the Hubble Space Telescope. With audio from the voice communication channel between astronauts and mission control, plus occasional commentary from someone explaining what's going on, you really felt like you were part of the event, and the picture quality was amazing. You can find out more about this mission, which will see the Hubble Space Telescope operational for another 5 years, on the NASA website, where you can also watch clips and highlights from the various missions they filmed. And if you're a Twitter fan, you might be interested to learn that astronaut Mike Massimino has made history by sending the first ever tweets from space. To read these and then switch to the live feed where he's actually out working in zero gravity was simply spellbinding during the week of the mission. These really are stunning examples of how modern web technology has opened a whole new universe of possibilities for the casual surfer, quite literally. Digital media in one form or another is becoming more and more a part of our daily lives. With so many images to organise and view, any application which makes life a little bit easier should be a welcome addition to your software stable. EarthenView is a super fast and simple freeware image viewer and editor which supports all major graphic formats such as BMP, JPEG, GIF, TIFF, TGA and the like. We showed you this at the beginning of 2008, but there have been some excellent additions to the software, so I wanted to point it out again for those who might have missed it. As well as the simple and quick editing features, if you download and install the add-on pack, you'll get a few other nice goodies for your money, which incidentally is no money. Did I mention that this is free for non-commercial use? These include direct FTP and email tagging from the thumbnail viewer, a nice little touch that should save you a few clicks of the mouse. You can also run slideshows and do batch conversions and a number of other neat little tweakers. On the whole, not an especially sophisticated package, but it does exactly what you want from a simple image viewer, plus a little bit more besides. Everyone seems to want a website these days, but it can be hard to stand out from the crowd. Well, now we've looked at website creation tools before on Webscape, but this one I want to point towards today has some really impressive Flash templates that could help spruce up your site. Wix.com is a URL. Signing up and getting started is incredibly easy. All available templates are viewable, which I strongly recommend you do before choosing one, as they all have their own unique style and animations. The next step is to change out the text and images for your own information. You can mess with the animations and effects too if you want, but the simplest thing is to just let the template do the work for you. Preview the pages to check out what you've got and then just click Publish to get a Wix.com URL where people can view your site. There are premium upgrades for cash if you want to rid yourself of the Wix adverts and get more pages and features, but the basic free option should be plenty for those dabbling in a first-time web presence. And finally, if you like to travel, this next website will come in very handy. Nothing is worse than jumping off the plane in a strange city and not knowing if you've got enough cash on you for the taxi to the hotel. WorldTaxiMeter.com is the URL where you can find out what is a fair fare from A to B in many major cities around the world. The site currently supports 18 major cities from Amsterdam to Toronto, with a form at the bottom of the homepage for you to make your expansion suggestions. You just click a city using the drop-down menu and then put your start and end points in the search box provided. For example, Soho to Leicester Square in London. Then click Let's Go. After a short wait, you'll see the fare estimate together with a map of the journey in the box below. Brilliantly simple and a real help for travellers everywhere. I love it. Well, that's it from me. The meter has run out on Webscape for today. There are links, of course, to all the pages explored on our website, which Spencer will be pointing you towards shortly. Happy surfing.
Thank you, Kate. Wonder how much a taxi from London to Tokyo would be. I wonder if anyone will miss me. Oh well, bbc.co.uk/click is the website that you need. There you'll find all the links to the Webscape sites, you'll find all our articles and a video stream of the entire programme too. Drop us a line, email click@bbc.co.uk. That will be all. Thanks for watching. See you next time.